blocks off the stage?
Yeah. Okay. Down there, so it's not.
Do you want these to stay on?
No. So wait. I need to. It's somewhere in here. I have like a more updated version. It's in here somewhere.
Oh, orange.
Yeah. Yeah. Or wait. I might have changed the word into. I don't. Oh wait. Yeah, it is this one.
Okay, let's get rid of the rest of these stuff, okay? You don't need these, right?
No, I need one more.
I think Kevin's waiting to hear about these.
Do you have a pen?
Oh, yes. Well, we have a thick one.
No, but I had another one that was like. Okay.
Look at this. I'm just going to start the...
Yeah, I know.
You can kind of, hopefully it'll bleed.
I'm okay with them.
Can you pass these up or put those upstairs? Oh yeah, I need to talk to you guys. Each one of you are gonna take a row if you don't mind. Divide these up. So when I'm reading last speech, when I'm talking about his friends, or your friends, once I like kind of talk about giving candy, you will give candy. Is that okay? So just kind of divide those up amongst yourselves, but only to the kids. Just the kids. What was that? Yeah, this looks good. Fire hazard.
Why don't you guys do it at the beginning?
Oh.
Cross one?
Yeah.
I'm going to cross there, all of us. You don't need this word,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And it talks about you. Get rid of all the stuff that's extraneous here.
Thank you.
Get rid of the extraneous.
Okay.
I put it right down there.
Oh, Jesse. Tape is over there. Okay.
So this, you don't need
I
this.
don't need this.
This is your speech.
Okay. And then here's the other one.
You don't need it. That's what's that.
That's for my closing.
Okay. So let's get rid of all of this. You don't need any of this, right?
Yep.
And this too. This.
Yeah.
That's the program that can stay here. Let me take all this away so you don't get mixed
Okay.
up.
Thank you.
Dave? I'm going to just put it right down here in case something happens. Then you've got it. This is yours, right here.
Yep.
Okay? Okay. I don't
Okay.
know where this came from.
Thank you.
Oh, is this for the little...
Hold on 1 second. Yeah.
You think I'm important?
I know.
You're doing great.
I'm trying to find someone from this a guy named Josh Niehaus.
Josh Niehaus?
He has, or Donna. I'm trying to find Donna.
I don't know who they are, but what do you need them for?
Have you seen Donna?
I've seen Donna.
He has a copy of our final schedule.
I have a copy of the final schedule too.
Did you bring that before we left?
I didn't print it.
Oh,
no, I
no,
just
I
have
have
this
that too. but-
just on my phone.
But this
Yeah.
is this the final step?
Can I compare what they have
By all
now
means.
to what I have? Because Josh messed around with it. Hold on. No.
And you need to work up, is this the final one? Who is he? Should I ask up front?
Oh, that's the cantor. I need her. And ask her if she has a printed copy of the changes of the program, please. There's a program right down there. Do you see it?
Yes.
Can you take a picture of it? And about before you're going to do it, you're going to, or before you come up, you're going to come up like right before and sit right over there so we don't. Actually, no, it's fine.
Just tell me.
No, because they're sitting right here. You're fine.
Yeah, I'll be sitting right over there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We don't need to do that.
Okay. Do you want me still to take a picture of the program?
When I'm speaking, can you just take a video?
Sure.
All right. Thank you. And yeah, take pictures while you can, please. What? I couldn't. Do you have one? Okay, thank you everyone for coming. Well, I can hear that traveling. It's terrifying. Hello, my name is David Solovey. I'm a proud Jew and a veteran of the IDF. We are all here tonight to honor and perpetuate the blessed memory of the murdered members of the Bibas family, Oded Lifshitz, as well as other victims of blessed memory. In his book, The Things They Carried, Vietnam veteran Tim O'Brien catalogs the things his soldiers in his Alpha company brought on their missions. There were intangibles, including guilt and fear, and there were physical objects such as dog tags, morphine, M16 rifles, and photographs of loved ones. The tragic and most iconic image of Hamas's barbaric and savage October 7th attack shows what Shiri Bibas carried in those fateful moments during which she and her sons were kidnapped. In that image, Shiri Bibas's face was wrenched in terror. She was clutching what was most precious to her, her 9-month-old Kafir and her 4-year-old son, Ariel. Shiri Bibas wrapped not just a blanket around her sons, but all the protection and love that a mother could possibly muster in the most vulnerable, dire, and terrifying moments. Kafir and Ariel were the things that Shiri Bibas carried on that nightmarish day. But she carried much more. During their kidnapping and captivity, Yarden and Shiri Bibas and their 2 sons did not just carry the heavy weight of fear and immeasurable suffering. They also carried within their hearts an endless reservoir of love. They carried that love not just for the members of their family, but also for all the Kibbutz Nir Oz community, for all the people of Israel, and all the Jews worldwide. Fittingly, the Bibas family did not hold only Israeli citizenship, they were also citizens of Argentina and Germany. There are Israeli Jews and world Jews. They were both. They were more than the Bibas family. They were all us. And just as Shiri and Yarden Bibas carried in their hearts their entire Bibas family, we carried them during their captivity. We carried them even after the last breaths taken by babies Kafir and Ariel, mother Shiri Bibas and grandparents Yossi and Margit Silberman. And we carried with us the Bibas family at the time of Yarden's return to freedom. We carry them in our hearts, and we carry them by our words and by our actions. The way that we carry the Bibas family today is made clear by our presence at this event tonight. We carry the Bibas family now, and we will always carry them until our last breaths. We also carry the blessed memory of Oded Lifshitz. Islamic Jihad murdered Oded Lifshitz. They extinguished his life, but they could not extinguish his memory or wrench him away from our hearts. The brutality of the kidnapping, imprisonment, and murders left us carrying anguish and rage. But the shining light of the Bibas family, as illustrated by Ariel's and Kafir's gleaming red hair, guides us to a different place than only the path of vengeance. Also shining a light to the path of the righteous are Oded Lifshitz and his wife Yocheved, who were peace activists and aided Palestinians in need of medical care and getting transportation to Israeli hospitals across the border. The Bibas and Lifshitz family have shown a light for all of us and illuminate what we carry. We carry with us the millennia of our common Jewish history, our Jewish culture and our religion, and the millennia of our ties to the land of Israel and the millennia of Jews spread across the globe, whether to flee anti-Semitism to seek a better life in a new land, or to live in the world as well. The Bibas family reminds us that we carry a duty to love one another, and that we carry a duty to honor, preserve, and carry forward our Jewish heritage and faith. The Bibas and Lifshitz family remind us that we all must pay a price to protect not just the state of Israel, but to protect all Jews, no matter where they may be. Upon his liberation from the pits of hell, Yarden Bibas declared to the soldiers of the IDF, in one sentence, "You are heroes, each and every one of you." In one word, thank you. Yarden added that, thanks to you, you helped me bring the light back into my life. There are 79 more hostages. Let's continue to do everything possible so that everyone can get home. Please don't stop. Yarden's words remind us that we carry a debt not just to the hostages, but to our people, the Jewish people. We do not carry this burden alone. Russell Johnson, a local pastor, upon learning of the murder of Kafir and Ariel, showed his compassion for the Bibas family by stating that, quote, the smallest coffins are the heaviest. He, like many persons of other faiths, help us carry the heavy weight of those coffins. In the many rallies and Run for Their Lives events since October 7th, the chorus of support for the hostages in Israel has been joined by many of our Hindu, Christian, and Persian friends, and from friends representing all walks of life. The Bibas and Lipschitz family in life and memory are not alone. We are not alone. We, as a people, stand together and live. Am Yisrael Chai. All right. I would like to, that was really heavy, everyone. So I want to do something that not everyone may be comfortable with, but I did this in a little impromptu ceremony we had on Thursday in the middle of Capitol Hill, which is you might not know someone behind you to your side. Ask them first. Not everyone may like to do it, but ask if they'd like a hug and give someone a hug. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. You know it's a Jewish event because people started schmoozing. Yeah. For our first musical part of the night, I would like to invite Cantor Bachelor and Josh Niehaus up to the stage.
Lord, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the water, the crush of the heavens, the prayer of all, the sand and the sea, the rush of the water, the crush of the heavens, the prayers of all.
And I would like to invite David Schumann, who is the Executive Vice President of the Board of Herzl-Ner Tamid.
Thank you for being here this evening. I want to thank David Solovny and Stand With Us for reaching out to our congregation to host this event. The entire security team, Solly Kane for leading the Jewish Federation, and a special thanks to Rabbi Herber, Kenner Bachelor, Josh Niehaus, Donna Piha, HNT's president, Melanie Miller, HNT's director of operations, and our entire board for coming together quickly to make this happen. Since October 7th, we have all experienced a range of emotions as the days continue to tick. Today is day 506. 506. Just yesterday, Avira Mengistu and Hisham al-Sayed were released after spending 3,821 days and 3,596 days, respectively, in captivity. Since October 7th, I know many of us have felt hopeless, especially when we all saw the worst possible image of fear and desperation on the face of Shiri Bibas while holding her 4-year-old boy and her 9-month-old boy, Ariel and Kafir. However, for the past 500 plus days, I know many of us remain full of hope that the Bibas family would be released safely, alive, and together. What has been the hardest part since October 7th? Can we pick one? How, when there are so many? One of the hardest I'll highlight is the silence from the world after breaking its promise of never again. Especially what we just learned about Shiri, Ariel, and Kafir, and the consistent loud hate for the Jewish people. But we are here. We are in Israel. We are all over the world, loud and proud, regardless of our count. Judaism is the only civilization whose golden age is in the future. The Messianic age, the age of peace when nation will not lift up sword against nation. Judaism is our religion. Israel is our home. And the Bibas family, our representation of hope. Yarden Bibas, the father, is alive and was released after 484 days in captivity. Shiri Bibas was brutally murdered just over a month into captivity, and her body was returned to Israel 2 days ago after Hamas initially and intentionally sent a Palestinian Jane Doe. Ariel and Kafir were also brutally murdered around the same time as their mother Shiri. It's not lost on me how the community has held on to hope for a family we've never met. Considering the symbolism each one of their names represents. Yarden means Diskander and a reminder of the Jordan River's role in religious and cultural contexts. Yarden's pain has descended through us all, and like the Jordan River, a place of life and death, this moment in time will always be a hard reminder of life and death. Shiri means my song, my poem. In Judaism, singing and reciting psalms are how we pray. And may we continue to speak of her, tell her story, and pray for her in the years to come. Ariel means Lion of God, a powerful figure embodying strength and divine protection. It's no coincidence that he loved Batman as much as he did. Ariel is our modern-day superhero. Kafir means lion cub, barely even learning to crawl, yet managed to leave his tiny paw prints forever embedded in our hearts. While death does bring grief, death does not end hope. Just yesterday, my wife Stephanie gathered our girls, Aviva, who is 7, and Ariella, who is almost 5, to make posters for the hostage rally that took place at Lid Park today. As I watched Aviva and Ariella color and ask questions, including, why would they kill a baby? I felt guilty that I could do what Yarden cannot. I felt sad having to see their faces as they heard Steph's responses. But I am comforted that we are raising Jewish girls with tremendous Jewish pride. And most importantly, with hope. So that what happened to the Bibas family, to Oded, and all of the bodies returned never happens to anyone ever again. Today we are a people of mourning, but we will always be a people of hope. Free them now, bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai.
I would now like to invite the senior rabbi of Herzl-Ner Tamid, Rabbi Herber.
David, my moment was standing in front of the Bibas home in Kibbutz Nir Oz, just months after October, and praying that they would come home, which is why, like all of you, this evening is so incredibly difficult and painful. This year, the end of April, we'll read a two-word phrase in the Torah that has been on my lips and on the lips of many this past week. Vayidom Aharon, and Aaron was silent. The scene occurs when Moses seeks to console his beloved brother Aaron after the untimely death of Aaron's two sons, Nadav and Avihu. They were both mentioned in this week's, or past week's, parasha as people holy enough to reach Mount Sinai. Later, they die in a tragic moment for bringing a strange fire. After Moses attempts to explain their death to his brother Aaron, the latter responds with silence. It's apparent that Moses' words to his mourning brother failed to bring comfort. Our sages try hard to explain why good people die tragic deaths. In the end, however, the only response that Aaron could muster was silence. Commentators make note of the Torah and the fact that it did not use the word vayishtok, sheket, and he was quiet. Instead, they use a more powerful word to describe his reaction to his brother's words. Baruch Levine notes that the accepted meaning of this phrase is he was silent, but it can also mean that Aaron wailed. Though opposite, they seem to work together. After the death of his sons, Aaron certainly wailed and mourned, and then he turned to deafening silence. Because when a young person dies a tragic death, or when there is evil, sometimes there are just no words to explain the heartbreak. Our teacher, Blue Greenberg, translates Vayidom Aharon as a profound and shattering silence. This past week, many of us felt that there were no words, that there was only silence. As I spoke with several Israeli colleagues and friends, and even some of you, the sentiments shared were all the same. There are just no words to describe the feelings of mourning that we all feel right now. Thursday was supposed to be the day that Israel received from Hamas the very first murdered hostages. We knew that this day would be a time of national mourning for Israelis and for Jewish communities around the world. And it was. But it became more complicated and macabre when we heard or we saw how Hamas transferred the bodies in a vile, disgusting, undignified charade. Later we learned Kfir and Ariel, Zichronam Livracha, had been tortured and had been strangled to death. The hands of barbaric monsters. We were also shocked, as it's been said, to discover that the body of their mother, Shiri, Zichrona Livracha, had not been returned at all. For many, last Thursday brought back the searing pain and agony of October 7th. So many of us had come to see the sweet young faces of the red-headed Bibas boys and their mother as a symbol of innocence, targeted by the depravity and evil that Hamas perpetrated. We also mourn for Oded Lifshitz, Zichrona Livracha, an 84-year-old former journalist and peace activist. Oded helped found Kibbutz Nir Oz, and he was known, as it's been said, for giving many, many rides to Gazans for medical treatment in Israel. At any point, Hamas could have turned them all over alive. They did not. And so I share with you that sometimes in the face of evil, we will rightfully feel a deep rage and also a profound and shattering silence. We mourn for decimated lives and families. We mourn for a husband who will never again know the love of his wife or the joy that comes from watching one's children reach adulthood, whose words even now haunt us. Make sure the entire world knows how brutally my children were slaughtered. At this moment, like Aaron, many of us feel that there are just no words. And so, when there are no words, there is the presence of a sacred community. In silence, in prayer, with tears, let us find comfort together in this solemn assembly. Let us pray that Shiri, Ariel, Kfir, Oded, Hirsch, and all of the hostages who were murdered be embraced by God. And that all the hostages yet to be returned, those living and dead, return home soon. May the scourge of Hamas and all of their allies and all who support them be obliterated from the face of the earth. May Shiri, Ariel, Kfir, and Oded be bound up in the bonds of everlasting life. Aham Israel Chai.
I would now like to welcome the Deputy Mayor of Mercer Island, Dave Rosenbaum.
It's always a little strange for me to speak from this lectern. My name is Dave Rosenbaum, and I'm proud to serve on the Mercer Island City Council as the city's deputy mayor. It's heartbreaking to be here today to mourn the lives of the Bibas family and the many others who have been murdered by Hamas. When the first hostages were released, I felt tears of joy, seeing people I've never met reunited with their families as if they were members of my own. When we learned last week of the fate of the Bibas children, I was consumed this time by tears of sadness. Again, for people I had never met.
the cantor's timer. It's okay, guys.
I don't think that ever happened to my dad. When we learned last week of the fate of the Bibas children, I was again consumed by tears, this time of sadness, for people I had never met, but I felt I knew my entire life. As a parent of small children, I feel the pain of the extended Bibas family. That day, I hugged my own children a little tighter. As members of Klal Yisrael, these hostages are our family. These children are our children. All of our children, parents and grandparents, should be returned home today without further delay, without further pain, and without further humiliation. Over the past 506 days, we have seen some of the worst anti-Semitism in generations. We have seen those who we thought were friends take morally bankrupt positions. We have seen groups that we have stood with when in their times of peril turn their backs on us in our hour of need. I am proud to say that that isn't the case here on Mercer Island. Here on Mercer Island, in the past 506 days, we have been unequivocal in our steadfast opposition to terrorism and anti-Semitism. We have been unrelenting in our support for our Jewish neighbors and our Jewish institutions. We are unafraid to stand on the right side of history. This strong stance results from a seemingly unlikely partnership between the first Israeli Muslim mayor in the United States, my dear friend Salim Nis, and me, the son of a rabbi, Salim the Muslim and David the Jew. As details of the atrocities committed on October 7th emerged, one of the first calls I received was from Salim, offering his support as a friend and asking how the city council could support our Jewish community. We co-authored one of the strongest statements from any government in support of the Jewish community, the State of Israel, and unequivocally condemning the actions of Hamas. We said that we condemn in the strongest terms the terrorist attacks against the State of Israel by Hamas and any other group or individual that seeks to perpetuate violence and terror. We pledge our unwavering support to our Jewish population and all Jews who are deeply affected by these events, ensuring that Mercer Island remains a place of safety, unity, and support. When this building, my shul, was desecrated with extensive hateful graffiti by anti-Semites masquerading as peaceful protesters, I got another text from Salim offering his support. Later that day, we condemned this vandalism in no uncertain terms. With significant support and enthusiastic encouragement from my colleague, Councilmember Jake Jacobson, who is not Jewish, but a member of the Latter-day Saints, we adopted the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition of anti-Semitism. By adopting this definition, we proudly took a step to protect our Jewish community and denounce anti-Semitism in all of its vile forms. I felt extremely heartened to see the recent outpouring of support from throughout the Mercer Island community when juveniles, not from our community, decided to target our middle school with anti-Semitic and racist messages, aimed to intimidate and terrorize minorities in our community. Within hours of requesting the community support, hundreds of Islanders shared photos of the alleged vandals, sending a clear message that as a community, we will not stand idly by while our neighbors are terrorized by hateful rhetoric in a place that is supposed to be a safe place for our children and our community. Within hours, the suspects were identified, thanks in no small part to the outpouring of support from the community. As the City Council, we said, Mercer Island is proud to be home to many Jewish institutions and a vibrant Jewish community. Anti-Semitism has no place here, and we stand firmly in solidarity with our Jewish neighbors against hate and intolerance. The individuals responsible for this vandalism sought to sow division through anti-Semitic and racist symbols and phrases, but their actions have only strengthened our community's resolve to stand united against hate. We are heartened by the outpouring of support from residents, local organizations, and faith groups, all reaffirming that such acts have no place on Mercer Island. I am proud to be part of a community where Jewish lives do matter and always will. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I now invite Josh Niehaus.
Livkod Lecha is to cry for you. It's a song that comes in poem that comes from Israel. If you don't understand Hebrew, The essence of this song says that sometimes there's nothing but grief. There are no silver linings to certain situations, and we will make space for that grief and for our longing and for our tears. שנפתחות בלילה נצח אחים אזכור אתכם תמיד וניפגש בסוף אתה יודע יש לי חברים אבל גם הם קווים וזה עצוב שלהחזיר ציוד אפשר לא געגוע לנצח אחים אזכור אתכם תמיד וניפגש בסוף אני יודע ויש לי חברים אבל גם הם קווים משגע כמו הגלים אנחנו מנפצים אל המזח אל החיים כמו הגלים אנחנו מנפצים אל המזח אל החיים אז אני הולך לבכות לך תהיה חזק למעלה
Thank you. I now would like to invite Eva Carlisle.
Thank you to everyone for coming together today. During this heartbreaking time, I'm really honored to have the opportunity to share some thoughts on behalf of the teenage Jewish community. Like all of you, I open my heart in sympathy to the Bibas and Lifshit families and to all Israelis in this darkest time. As someone who works in childcare with a deep passion for education, these images cut me deeply. There is nothing but unimaginable pain that the people of Israel feel minute by minute, hour by hour, and day by day as hostages and remains of the dead are transferred home. Their pain is our pain. Their suffering is our suffering. The Jewish diaspora beats with one heart, and today it bleeds. My name is Nava Carlisle, and I am a senior at Lincoln High School in Seattle. I am one of about 20 Jewish students in a population of nearly 1,700 students. This past year, I have witnessed firsthand so many young people ideologically rejecting a pillar of Jewish life today and a core part of my own identity. The ability to unequivocally love and support Israel while still holding progressive values. For so many Jewish teenagers, this disconnect feels like a rejection of who we are as people, as Jews, and as kids. Too many people fall into a loop of endless outrage, mistaking online rhetoric for activism. But anger is not truth. The prevailing narrative on social media from my generation is false. These perspectives are wildly distorted and blind to history. They ignore the brutal reality of October 7th and attempt to create a false moral equivalence between those who target innocent civilians and those who protect them. Just last week, a poster that read, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," was approved by my own teacher to be displayed on a bulletin board in our government classroom. When I cautiously and slightly hesitantly voiced my discomfort to the teacher, I was met with "all voices are welcome in this class." This past year, while touring college campuses across the country, I found myself uninterested in the dining halls or dorms, but instead deeply anxious about the experience of being Jewish on campus. We are living in a landscape of misinformation, prejudice, and propaganda against Jews. As young people, our role must be one of unity, showing up with tolerance, empathy, and understanding to create a world where Jews can be free. This is my generation's call to action. I wish every Jewish teenager could visit Israel like I did. I wish they could press their hands against the stones of the Western Wall, dance for hours on Shabbat, and feel the heartbeat of a people who have endured, celebrated, and survived. I wish for a day where joy returns to Israel. I wish for every hostage to come home safely. I wish that the world will see that Israel is the home of the Jewish people. I wish you peace. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to invite Randy Kessler, who is the Executive Director of Stand With Us Northwest.
Thank you very much, David. I don't know how many of you knew who David Solovey was before tonight, but I want to give tremendous thank you to David, who's one of our fighters for Am Yisrael, because even though everybody's been thanking me at Stand With Us, and some have been thanking Herzl-Ner Tamid, this evening would not have taken place were it not for David Solovey. David's the kind of person who sees what needs to be done, and if no one else is doing it, he'll shake the trees and he'll make it happen. That spirit is what motivated him to join the IDF as a lone soldier and fulfill a 3-year commitment. As an American kid who grew up in Seattle, Washington, right? Out of the blue, decided to go and take that on. It's what drove him, that spirit, that commitment, it's what drove him on Thursday night to email a group of us, community leaders, pushing us to schedule a community vigil in memory of the murdered hostages. But David is not the only one who has such a powerful connection to his people and who's willing to stand up and do what needs to be done. Since October 7th, I've seen so many people in our community stand up on behalf of Israel and the Jewish people, each in their own way. Some have helped organize public rallies, and hundreds more have attended those rallies. Others have taken more active roles engaging with local politicians or local media, and still others have built their own grassroots organizations or groups to organize on a local level and make sure that issues of Jewish concern are raised with local authorities and decision makers. My point here is that each of us has a role to play, and that any one of us can start a movement. So tonight, our role is to unite in mourning, to comfort each other, and to shed tears over our collective losses. And then tomorrow is a new day. We each receive a new opportunity to be, as our tradition says, a light unto the nations. So I want to thank you all for joining us tonight and encourage you to please continue to spread your own light, each in your own way, to the people around you. Thank you.
So I, first wanted to do a quick recognition of a couple of people. When I thought about what Hamas did, it was to demean, take away people's dignity, and tear down. And I'm so lucky to have surrounded myself with people that I know and that I'm friends with who spend their life building people up. Takes one person in the audience here, John Michael, who has spent thousands of hours helping kids whose teachers and administrations will not listen to them build cases for anti-Semitism. Take Sivan, who is a school counselor, but while looking through quite a few things, and her LinkedIn, I found that she had worked with battered women who had lost their dignity and were trying to build their lives again. I think about people in the back like Lindsay, my friend Lindsay, who is a city planner, but spends her time not really trying to build big high rises, but trying to make the community affordable for everyone and to make sure that people aren't homeless. I think about my friend Jordan. I think how she has devoted her life to helping people who are disabled not struggle through life and have the dignity to have access to everything like everyone else. I think about my friends Jessica and Sadie, who Sadie works in the military trying to keep us all safe, and Jessica does some teaching and tries to lift up all kids. So I want to say thank you to all of you, and there's so many other people I couldn't even get to looking at you. But that brings me to someone who's also tried to build me up, and that is Sasha. So Sasha, I want to invite you up to the Bibas. Sasha Matson. Sasha's hung up probably thousands of posters of the Bibas family, and I apologize, I wouldn't join you at 7 a.m. every morning on a Saturday, but we so appreciate what you do. Please.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, David, for your amazing contribution to the people of Israel, for your service and IDF, and for organizing this amazing evening. I just want to tell one very quick story. It was sometime midnight a couple of months ago after a Hamas demonstration in Seattle. They put a lot of graffiti around the 4th Avenue in Seattle, and then David called me at midnight and asked me, can you give me a cover? No questions asked. We went there past midnight, removing that graffiti. And that's an area of Seattle where you don't want to be at midnight at all. Maybe not even around 7 p.m. Thank you so much, David. As we mourn Ariel, Kfir, Shiri, and Oded, murdered in captivity, 2 babies strangled with bare hands, beautiful souls taken from us too soon. The images remain etched in our memory. A mother clutching 2 babies in her arms with fear on her face. A father tortured and abused in captivity. Our people held hostage for over 500 days, released looking like Holocaust survivors. And we vow with all our strength to neither forgive nor forget. For thousands of years, the people of Israel persevered, from the 12 tribes to the exodus from Egypt, from suffering and subjugation by the Islamic rule to the Holocaust, and to October 7, where we witnessed our mothers, brothers, sisters, our children, our loved ones being murdered, tortured, raped, and we are still here. And on this day of profound mourning, on this day of profound loss, we pray for our soldiers, for those who fell in battle, for those who are still wounded, for our people who are still being held in captivity, for those who are suffering the unimaginable grief of losing their loved ones, and for the people of Israel who witnessed the horrors of October 7 massacre. We vow with our bodies, minds, and souls to protect and defend the land of Israel for all eternity. Am Israel Chai.
And I would like to invite Rabbi Brett Weissman, who is going to be sharing a poem. He is a rabbi at Temple de Hirsch Sinai.
Evening. Last week, I had the honor and privilege of traveling throughout Portugal and Spain with our high schoolers to bear witness to the hundreds of years, the long-lasting effect of the Portuguese and Spanish Inquisitions that drove Jews throughout Spain and Portugal from their homes and from their faith. And while we were in this driving through this beautiful Spanish countryside, we heard the news that these people were no longer alive. And so I felt compelled to write this. Calling this poem More Than Anything. When was the last time you smiled? I mean, really smiled. When was the last time you heard laughter? Saw a child smile, innocent and bright. Now silence chokes the empty air. Their voices stolen, stripped by predators, undone. The cradle rocks, though none remain. Red curls, once bobbed, now dust again. The walls still hold their echoed cries, yet none will answer. The world is old, its hate still strong. A serpent's hiss on ancient tongue. It finds us still, it finds us blind, and stays, remains while their mother's heart screams silently. What sin but birth? What crime but a heritage? The stars still burn, 1,000 years and 1,000 more, and still the plowshares forged from swords remain a dream deferred. But we remain, though torn and scarred, though loss has hollowed out the stars, our breath is ragged, but it flows, and the embers glow where fires once rose. Isaiah wrote, and for those whose innocent tongues like sackcloth torn, for those whose progeny are no more, I will give them in my house and within my walls a Yad Vashem, a monument and a name that shall not be cut off. Nizkor, we will remember. Shamor, we will keep you close. In my home and upon the walls of my heart, I will inscribe your names. If all has flown save hope alone, what else is there to do but live? We do not beg or cower. We do not bow. save before the King of Kings. We remain faithfully. We abide. More than anything, we live somehow. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
I invite you to rise for the El Maleh, the memorial prayer. We recite this prayer not only in memory of the Bibas family and of Oded Lifshitz, but also for all of those who died on October 7th and who have died since. Shochen pomramim am se menucha nachana tachat kanfei hashchina b'malot kedoshim u'toharim kezohar harakia mazhirim lenishmat kol mi shenifkehu v'shenifreu bifrahot v'chazivaot b'shiva b'oktober b'gan eden tiyeh menuchatam ana ba'al harachamim astirem b'seta kinafecha le'olamim utzror bitzror hachayim et nishmotehem Adonai hu nachlatam ve'yanuchu v'shalom al mishkevotehem v'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to those whose radiance is like heaven, to the souls of those that we have lost on October 7th and those we have lost since. May their memory be a blessing, and may they rest in paradise. Master of mercy, may they find eternal shelter beneath your sheltering wings, and may their souls be bound up in the bond of life. Adonai is their portion. May they rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Please join me in the Mourner's Kaddish. Gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabba, be'almat yivrach yiruteh, be'amlich malchuteh, be'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, bagala u'v'zman karib, v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivarach, le'olam al me'al maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha b'rihu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechamata. Damiram b'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'ol kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromah. Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. To ask you to take just a moment, you may be seated, to reflect in silence before we continue.
I would now like to invite Danit Ehrlich, who is the regional representative for the Israeli American Council.
I would like to read a poem in Hebrew. It's called Receive Our Dead, לקבל את מתינו, by חנה ירושלמי. כיצד אנו מתכוננים לקבל את מתינו? עם אבנים מירושלים בכיסנו, מעגנות אותנו, עם כלניות אדומות בידינו, וסכין נעוצה בליבנו. בלחישות של קינות עתיקות על שפתנו היבשות, כשאנו גוררים רגלינו בצעדים מאוססים, לקבל את הנשמות היקרות, משום שאף אחד מאיתנו לא רוצה להתמודד עם החדשות הללו. כיצד אנו מתכוננים לקבל את מתינו? ברוחות רפאים כהות, שבורות חודשים ארוכים, עם יד ימיננו עובדת וקמלה, ועם יד שמאלנו המוחה אין סוף דמעותינו. We gathering here today in a profound sorrow with tears in our eyes to honor and remember the Bibas family, Shiri, a devoted young mother whose terrified image on the morning of the October 7 shook the world, and her innocent, blameless children, the sweet red-haired Ariel and baby Kfir. We also remember Oded Lifshitz, a true Zionist, a warrior of peace, and for one of the founders of Kibbutz Nir Oz, who was brutally murdered by Hamas terror. In the Israeli community, and probably for many of you as well, we are torn to two. Our hearts, our thoughts, our families are in Israel, but our bodies here. And these past days have been filled with unimaginable pain. For months we held on to hope, envisioning the moment when Shiri, Yarden, Ariel, and Kfir would be reunited, embracing once more. We picture Oded and Yocheved, veterans of Nir Oz, walking hand in hand through the landscape of their beloved home. The impact of their loss extends far beyond their families. It is a tragedy that echoes in the hearts of Jews globally. Hamas' goals are clear: instill terror and crush the Jewish and Israeli spirit. But they will fail. If history had taught us anything, it is that even in our deepest despair, we rise, we rebuild. We are strong, we are resilient. As Rabbi Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory said, to be a Jew is to be an agent of hope. Jewish hope is not passive optimism. It is an active commitment to renewal, deeply rooted in our collective memory and fortified by centuries of resilience. Today, we stand here not only to mourn, but to act, to call upon the world, wake up, do not turn away, do not stay silent in this face of these atrocities. But this is not just a fight for Jews. This is a fight for the entire civilized world. Terror and hatred know no boundaries, no borders. Today, it is us. Tomorrow, it could be anyone. So we say with unwavering resolve, Shiri, Kfir, Ariel, and Oded, we will not forget you. We will not stop fighting for justice and the return of all of the hostages. Am Yisrael Chai.
Alrighty. I wanted to speak or talk a little bit about our next speaker, who was very gracious to make time at the last minute this morning to speak to us. I'm pretty sure you didn't know I existed until this afternoon. I was trying to think about, who I wanted to speak, and I wanted to speak about someone who strives for justice. And I'm glad to welcome, in just a minute, Seattle City Attorney Ann Davison. Ann's life passion has been protecting the community, especially the most vulnerable and innocent among us. As Kfir and Arya would have probably put it, she goes after the bad guys. She has come today not to give her opinion on the war or what should be done. In fact, I never discussed it. But she is here to show solidarity with the Jewish community during this time of great pain. The solidarity that drove her to clear her busy schedule to join us to share her thoughts and condolences. Anne believes all children, not just in Seattle city limits, but the world, deserve dignity, protection, and a right to grow up. She appropriately believes that nobody deserves discrimination or violence simply because of who they are. And now I welcome Seattle City Attorney Ann Davison.
If you've not heard me speak before, I'm just going to open up with an apology beforehand. I often get choked up when I speak on things that are really moving to me, so that's just the way it is, and you'll have to bear with me. So David is right, I did not know his name until sometime this early afternoon when he did a lot of thorough research to reach me in multiple ways. And I say that with respect because of his doggedness, as his determination to put together this ceremony for your community to specifically share and to know you're not alone, and to allow me to come, someone who comes with utmost humility because I don't think I deserve to be in a space such as this, to speak, except for that I'm also a mother, so I feel it is important to come and speak. I did not need to know Aded's glance. I did not need to know Ariel's giggle. And I did not need to know Kafir's smile. And I did not need to know Shiri's motherly love to know that they are sorely missed. And that they had confusion beyond any of our comprehension as children when you can't even answer their questions that you have here before you. I cannot even tolerate the thought of the confusion that was going on for them. Our world is created with our laws. That really is the only thing we can have to have a civilization where we can have some predictability as we go about taking care of our families, our businesses that create opportunities, that drive ideas and build generational hope and longevity and community. And as society, we must follow those and uphold them to the strictest standards of our own selves, knowing that those around us adhere to that as well. But sadly, that isn't always the case, and so there's people like me that have to come and say, that is not okay. We have created societal limits to say that is not how we are to treat one another. And it goes without my saying that that is in this space. So I really do just thank you for letting me come. I don't think that I have anything special to add. It's just to share it in the space that has been created for the grief, and to know that we move through it, and you move through it with looking at your neighbor sitting next to you and those that walk by you and trying to choose a different path, and choose a path of love, and choose a path of seeing the invisible, and to choose a path of caring for the meek, and to choose a path that uplifts someone to help them believe when they don't feel they're strong enough to do it. I thank you for your time to spend here tonight to honor things that shouldn't have to be said. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney Davison. I hope we can all get to know you more. I hope to get to know you more in a social setting, not a court setting. Next, I would like to invite Rabbi David Ben-Shlush. I'm going to share a few words.
Thank you, David, for inviting me here this evening. I'm truly moved by the various different ideas, thoughts, and feelings that have emerged from this podium. Allow me to begin with a quote. Freedom, as I see it, is the essence of life. The words of Menachem Begin on August 27th, 1950, cannot be said any more vividly. In the surreal world of captivity, torture, and pain, freedom and hope are priceless. When Hamas terrorists pluck entire families from the soil they worked so hard to redeem, from the homes they built with their bare hands, from the new blue baby Bibas bicycle outside the porch, or the toy box waiting to be opened by Kfir and Ariel as they await the curiosity of a new day, Hamas have attacked the value of life. When they attack Jews who advocated for their health in Gaza, they attack the virtue of gratitude. When they swap caskets with falsified bodies, they attack the dignity of the dead. When they create propaganda using innocent men, women, children, and babies, they attack the virtues of respect. When they torment two hostages, forcing them to see their own friends released in a twisted evilness just about 50 feet away from freedom, they can almost touch freedom. They attack the value of hope. Am Yisrael will never be the same, unfortunately, at this time. We cannot go back in time and correct these painful events, but there is something else that can happen. When Am Yisrael reunites, they rebuild a nation. When Am Yisrael fights terror, they protect the land. When we cry over two red-haired babies and their mom, we build love. When we mourn the loss of life, we create harmony. When we unite for justice, as we are this evening, as we have been for so many months now, we create new boundaries. When we find a smile from our freed hostages on a picture of somebody in a square in Tel Aviv, we regain great space in our heart. In the making of the nation of the Jewish state, our values then stood strong on the land, the people, and the future. We rolled up our sleeves in kibbutzim and wars of liberation and financial hardships and transient uncertainty, but we were together. We were one. In the words of Livnat Yefet, aged on a baby Bibas painted bomb shelter in Tel Aviv, I'll say it in Hebrew, then translate. איך בכלל התווכחנו אם אנחנו אחים או לא, כשהלבבות של כולנו נשברו ביחד. And the translation, in my loose translation, how did we ever argue if we are brothers or not, when our hearts were broken as one? In Rose, a space of life and giving, of planting and of future, the people there settled and built our land. They worked in the heat and cold in a quiet space that most people knew very little of until October 7th. And now we see their greatness. Now we learn their spirit. Hamas took thousands of lives and injured thousands of souls, deprived us of 506 days of serenity, attacked our core systems, but they only found that we are still united as one. We remain loyal to our land. They found that we maintain a deep seat of trust in our future. They found that we will never let go of anything. Shiri Bibas, I heard about you. They said you were nothing like the pictures. They said you were the joy of the kibbutz. They said that your friend would gather at your home every evening to connect, to unwind, to vent, to smile, to be present with you. Shiri Bibas, you held on to your babies, Ariel and Kfir, so tight. Your arms of love and strength. Shiri, you have taught us to hold on, to protect and nurture, to hold it together, even in times of uncertainty. Shiri, you were taken from us. Shiri, you are a holy soul. We are only beginning to appreciate your greatness. And now, we will do what you have done. We will glue our hearts back together. We will hold our flagship of resilience and protection, of commitment and determination. There's one thing I felt throughout the time hearing the inspiration. And I thought of a pasuk. Lechtech acharai bamidbar, be'eretz lo zerua. This is the most beautiful verse of God looking at the Jewish people and saying, you know what? I see, I appreciate, I feel your challenge. I testify to your emotional challenges. You have walked in unharvested land. You walked after me when it was difficult. You believed in me. You held on to me. You didn't let go. You didn't give up. And I will always remember that you are lechtech acharai b'midbar. You walked after me in the wilderness, in the desert. I see it, and I'm with you, and I will be there for you. The prophet Isaiah, and I'll end with this, gives us a promise for the future. And all the promises of the future the Talmud teaches us, they will come true. The promises of blessings will all come true. He says, "Ve'olachti ivrim, bederech lo nodau." Those that cannot see, whether physically or emotionally, I will hold their hand. I will hold your hand. When you have a trajectory of a time where you don't know how it is you're going to get there, I will hold your hand. And tonight, when I see the Bibas babies and Oded Lifshitz, you made it on stage. Hamas thought that they were going to wipe you out. But you are here on stage. You mean so much to us. We preserve life. And we only do it with Hashem's hand. I want to thank you, David, for welcoming here this evening. I want to thank you all for inspiring me. On behalf of our Sephardic community in Seattle, Bezrat Hashem, we wish for good news. Am Yisrael Chai.
Okay, it's a hard act to follow, but where did this guy go? Oh, there you are. I want to say thank you to all the speakers tonight, and I mostly want to say thank you to the people here on stage and that they brought us all together involuntarily, but they have. Before we go home, I want to tell you a story. It's a story of a little boy named Yoav. Yoav, just 5 years old, waited patiently for 16 months for his best friend, Ariel Bibas, to come home. He wrote him letters, saved him a Batman costume for Purim, and kept asking, when will Ariel return from Gaza? He wrote a letter with the help of his parents. It said, I want to draw for you Batman and all the heroes so you will have the will to fly over Gaza, fight against the bad guys with a bow and arrow, and then you'll come back and be with us. I hope you get candy and a cape. I miss you, Yoav. When Yoav's parents were forced to tell him that his friend Ariel Bibas would not return alive, he looked at them and said, with the innocence of a 5-year-old child, my heart hurts. Well, Yoav, our hearts hurt with yours. I am so sorry that me and all the other adults weren't able to get your friend back. But I want to do something for you and Ariel. I know you and Ariel loved candy. So I will make sure every little boy and girl in this room gets a piece of candy. If you're a parent, you can take one, take it home. And for the kids, that's for later. But we want to say thank you for bringing us all together. And Josh Niehaus is going to be closing us out.
Thank you, David. Before we finish with a concluding prayer and Hatikva, I'd like to invite Solly Kane, CEO of the Jewish Federation, to come up and give a few remarks as well.
I'm the last speaker. A reading from Michal Fox Smart, the Kara Zeh El Zeh. There was silence today. When your names should have been read, it pushed against my chest and drew forth the tears. How could I wish someone be on that cursed list? Because as long as we recited your names, there was hope. Because you embodied the pure innocence of everyone taken. Because saying your names was like invoking angels, the ones who shout your names now in welcome. Like many of you, I held on to hope for the Bibas family's return over the last 500 days. Even when they did not come home in the first ceasefire, I held on to hope. Even when Hamas claimed they had been killed, I held on to hope. Even when there was no news for many months, and even when Yarden came home a few weeks ago, but Shiri, Ariel, and Kfir did not. It felt like that hope was sucked out of the Jewish world in the last 4 days, and in its place was instead such profound sadness and anger. The details that the Bibas family have asked to be shared with the world, and the sickening public display and cruelty from Hamas on Thursday while returning their bodies, have only flamed the fires of emotion for the Jewish people. Like many other parents, I have held my son a little bit tighter the last few days, thinking about Shiri, Kfir, and Ariel, and also thinking about Yarden. My own son, who's somewhere in the back, was not yet born on October 7th, and now he's already an age that it seems Kfir never reached while in captivity. I have asked myself questions that I'm sure you have too. How can such a cruel world exist? How can there be parents who bring their children to celebrate the return of the bodies of other children? How can so many in the world stand silently or only find a way to say something if it comes with a qualifier, as if children and their mother returned home, murdered 500 days later in boxes might, in some cases, be acceptable? And then, a day later, the next flood of emotion with the images of 6 hostages returning alive to their families. The video of some of them almost immediately participating in a Havdalah ceremony, a ceremony of separation in the greatest sense, with the words of Megillat Esther contrasted with the darkness of 16 months or many years of captivity. La Yehudim hayta ora v'simcha v'sason vikar kein tiyeh lanu. The Jews had light and joy and gladness and honor. So be it with us. This is what it means to be part of the Jewish people throughout history. Moments of such profound sadness, but also moments of unwavering perseverance and joy. Conclusion, a poem from Rabbi Oded Mazor of Kehilat Kol HaNeshama in Jerusalem, translated by Rabbi Ayelet Cohen. Kohelet wasn't right. The days when each hour collides with the next, we have no choice but to cry and to laugh with the same eyes, to mourn and to dance at the same time, and the long arc of history is compressed into 1 day and 1 hour. We ask for the strength to contain the intensity of our bursting hearts, to rejoice with those who will be able to embrace today, to enfold all of those leaning into their longing, souls trembling, to hold on to hope without letting go, and to leave some quiet space for a silent scream. Please, grant us the room to shatter into pieces and the spirit to be rebuilt anew. May the memories of Shiri, Ariel, Kfir Bibas, and Oded Lifshitz be a blessing, and may their families be comforted among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem.
Thank you so much, Solly, and all you do for the Jewish community. Hopefully you'll forgive me, I'm running on about 3 hours of sleep. So I think it's time to close out. Josh,
Thank you, David, for all your tireless effort in making this happen.
So we wanted to share with you Achenu. This has become a ballad for the hostages that's become, you hear it all over Israel. But it actually dates back much, much further. It's part of our weekday services. And we know that it even appears in the Machzor Vitri, which is from the 9th century, one of the very earliest Sidurim. Because unfortunately, we have a long history of having our people taken hostage, but it does not cause us to give up hope, because we value their lives so dearly. Achenu kol Beit Yisrael, Achenu kol Beit Yisrael, Hanetunim b'tzara, b'tzara uv'shivya, Haomdim ben vayam uven vayavasha. Achenu kol Beit Yisrael, Achenu kol Beit Yisrael, Hanetunim b'tzara, b'tzara uv'shivya, Haomdim ben vayam uven vayavasha.